Is this the scariest part of launching a brand new satellite? Well, it depends who you talk to.
Everybody else will be opening champagne and cheering up, and we're gonna be sweating.
To find out the answer, I travelled all the way to Germany, to the European Space Agency. And honestly, based on what I found, I think we're missing the most interesting bit.
Flight dynamics.
Flight dynamics, go.
ESA have given me unprecedented behind-the-scenes access to critical training for the launch of their new satellite, Biomass. It's such a cool satellite, but I'll get into why later in the video. Today, I'm learning what it takes to do my dream job, satellite operations engineering. Now, the work you're doing here is the bit after the launch, when you're setting up the satellite, getting it ready and starting it on its working life.
Correct.
And the first bit is launch. What is the bit that you do called?
We taking control as soon as the satellite is fully separated from the launcher.
Yeah.
So before it's under the control of the launch authority,
Yeah.
the satellite is pushed away, and then basically we start getting in contact with the satellite, and that is where we start receiving the telemetry and sending the commands.
While the rest of the world marvels at the launch, Jakob and Elia are way more concerned with whether the super delicate satellite that they've spent years working on has actually survived the trip. So in the build-up to launch, the team spend months practicing and running simulations so that on the day they're prepared for anything.
We always say that we hope for the best, but we prepare for the worst.
Yeah.
So we have a procedure, we are trained to be able to react to many types of different contingencies.
And 1 month out from the launch, that's exactly what the team are doing now. Kicking off their biggest simulation with the whole team spread across 2 continents. And they've agreed to let me come along for the ride. This is the scary bit. If the whole world watches them launch something into space that doesn't work, well, then they're in trouble. They call this phase LEOP, which stands for Launch and Early Orbit Phase.
For Biomass, this happens, let's say, 15 minutes after it separates from the upper stage of the launcher. For other missions, can be even later.
And that's why this bit is so interesting to me, because everyone sees the launch, it's
claps.
in the sky,
Yes.
it's applauded. You're just sat there watching, you're not
Yes.
doing anything
This
yet.
is the time when we're gonna be here sweating and the room is in absolute silence.
Right, so what am I going to be doing today?
So, okay, for this I brought you a special person. It's
Hello,
my
Jakob.
right hand. So, Jakob.
Here in the front row, we have all the engineers that are taking responsibility for the different parts of the satellite. And you will be trying to take on one part of this team. So,
And like this is just going to be a tiny part of what one person is doing as well.
So it's difficult to isolate it really for one person.
Yeah.
So we try to combine it a bit, and we will show you what you can maybe do yourself.
In the lead up to launch, they simulate everything that should happen and everything that could go wrong. And they drill those early stages over and over so they're ready for any eventuality. And they're letting me have a go at a small part of it.
Here we have the main control room. We're gonna sit here and make sure the satellite works and is all ready then to produce the science. We're gonna stay here for 9 days overall, covering mostly 24/7 and reducing when possible. So, but yes, so we're gonna basically sleep and eat and live here for a number of days. So our colleagues will be our family, yes. And this is what we are preparing for. So this is a control room for the operation of the ground stations.
So a ground station is the receiving site on Earth with generally a big dish.
The ground station
Hey,
is
we've got a picture
that
on the wall,
thing
yes.
here. We are in contact from one of these stations for maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And during these 10 minutes, the data is downlinked to the station. And vice versa, for commanding, we do the opposite, so we send the commands.
This basically means that every time the satellite passes over a ground station's receiving dish on Earth, the team have only 10 minutes to send and receive all the data, and crucially, to fix any problems they come across with the satellite.
Here we have our flight dynamics colleagues. They help us flying the satellites and computing the orbits of the satellites. So they do the numerical calculation that give us the position of the satellite now, in the past, but also prediction for the future.
Normally, the rocket leaves the satellite in an orbit which is very close to the final one.
Yeah.
Or otherwise, you would need to use quite a lot of fuel that the satellite is bringing itself.
Yeah.
So normally, we need to do some minor corrections if everything is nominal and everything is as expected, but that's it. But then, of course, if we don't get the signal, then everything starts speculating, stations need to start searching, and with whatever data that we have, we need to compute a new orbit. But then as soon as we get any data from the stations, we start recomputing and see how far from the nominal orbit we are.
Yeah.
And if needed, providing new data to the stations.
For our type of mission, they need to be going down even up to meter and centimeter precision.
In space?
Yes, in space,
Wow.
of course, because when you measure in...
Centimeter precision to where a satellite is in space?
Yes, yeah, because if you measure in ice or a magnetic field or the forest, you need to know precisely where you are.
You've sat me in front of 3 very big screens with a lot of data on it, seemingly. Well, this is a surprise. They've set up a whole simulation just for me, so that I can have a go at controlling the satellite just how they train.
Right, yes. Now we are sitting in front of our mission control system,
Yeah.
which is the system that we use to send commands to the satellite.
Yeah.
And we want to somehow visualize the data that we get back from the satellite that tells us what is the status of the satellite. And you today would be the one that we call AOCS, which is Attitude and Orbit Control System.
Okay.
In the case of Biomass, it's also the person who is responsible for the deployment of the large reflector.
Okay.
So the big antenna that we carry.
So what I have to do here is start to deploy the most important part of the satellite, the bit that actually does the science. No pressure. This is probably a good time to tell you what Biomass actually does. Current satellites can image forests, but can't see the wood for the trees. These clever humans have found a way to see the vegetation and leaves to measure the trunks, branches, and even the forest floor. They're using the satellite's data to monitor our forest's carbon storage over time, and they'll use this to help study climate change.
Basically, you will be, in the path that you will be doing, switching on for the first time the unit that is controlling the motors for the deployment. So I told you we have the LEOP timeline, which is the timeline for all of the passes, for all of the nine days of our LEOP, for every single pass what we're going to do. Overall, it's a very long document. It's like 500 pages or something like this. But we printed out 4 of them, and it will be the one pass that you will be doing.
Okay, so 3 pages of stuff. I suppose I'd better go through and study this tonight.
Yes, you can.
I'll get to see it in action tomorrow a little bit, over the shoulder of someone.
Yes,
possibly.
exactly. Tomorrow you can see a bit how we do it with the full team in the control room.
And then it's my turn to have a little go myself and
Get
see if
your
I've
hands
got what it
on
takes.
and see what you can do, yes.
Despite them having had 5 years of training, multiple degrees and everything else, I'm going to try it.
You can see how well our procedure is tested, if it's going to be working and if it's clear enough or if there's going to be some issue.
Oh, so cool. So, it's the day of. It's 2:45. I can see people are busy and concentrating in there. What's happening? What's going on today?
Today is a very important day because we are running a training. We call it simulation. This starts about 3 months before launch. We start with easy and nominal. Everything is should be fine. We go through our procedure using our system, and we check that everything is okay. And then step by step, then we have these Mr. Trouble guys downstairs that start failing things and failing system, failing part of the satellite, failing part of the ground segment, failing people, calling people sick off, failing anything that can be failed, and the things increase in complexity. So the team is put under pressure, and this makes sure that everybody is really ready when the big event happens, the launch. Then when we face the in-flight contingent, it looks like, okay, we have seen this, we know how to react, and we are ready.
It's one of those things where 5 years worth of work are leading up to kind of this moment, because 1 month before launch, this is your last chance to make sure that everything is okay, work out how you're going to deal with those problems. And by this point, if you do get these problems from Mr. Trouble, you should already know how to deal with them.
Correct.
And this is you testing that you do know how to deal with them.
Correct.
Okay, I need to meet this Mr. Trouble. So let's pause here and go down to the basement where he's lurking. So you're basically spying on them from
More
a
or less,
distance.
and we listen to all the loops, so we need to pay attention to all the conversations. And that's because we want to run them through the scenario nominally, but then the fun part is we start breaking things. We make a joke at the beginning that I'll be their enemy now, so they'll. What makes the team is that they all hate me together as a team, but then actually they appreciate the entertainment and And once they launch, I'm actually on their side. So if they have a problem that they need to figure out, I can set up the simulator to look as close as possible to the real spacecraft, and they can use it to test their solutions.
For you to be able to do this then and get all of the inter-team communication working, you have to understand what everyone does, I suppose.
You need to know a bit about everything, but not everything about anything. So it's like we need to generally know the spacecraft as well, the limitations, the order of things that need to be done. We read documentation on the actual hardware to see what can go wrong, what you need to do. We also use real-life things, so we know from the spacecraft that we're controlling here, we know things that went wrong. So we also know how realistic things are. Yeah. Typically, we give them a couple of failures. They solve those. They get more as a reward. Yeah. So this is the fun part of the job. We can look at everything. But you can also specialize a bit on what you like. Was that sim? That may have been for me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Give me a second.
Yeah.
Station calling sim?
You just got a call on the radio, so does that mean you're about to cause some trouble for upstairs?
No, so I'm pretending I'm on the launch pad actually with the satellite today.
Okay.
And then in like 10 minutes, I actually need to open some latch valves on the satellite itself, so they see it. So today I'm pretending to be the people with the real satellite switching it on the launch pad.
It's funny because some people in their spare time will go out of their way to do role play. They'll play Dungeons and Dragons and stuff, but you get to do role play all day, every day.
This is like I'm the dungeon master. Oh, it's ringing now. Like I'm the dungeon master. I need to organize a game for them. In the end, it's sort of like this. It's in a professional way and a very responsible and grown-up way, but it's a bit of dungeon master and this kind of stuff.
Is that countdown clock the time in the simulation?
What you see there is the count to simulated launch.
Yeah.
So when you see
2 hours until simulated launch. So that's
correct.
They're doing everything that they would be doing 2 hours before the launch in 1 month's time.
Precisely. Yes. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Hello.
Hi.
So, how did it go?
Good. Everything nominal. The spacecraft is on.
Yeah.
This is the most exciting hot desk swap I have ever seen. So how was this morning?
Good. It went very well. Everything smooth and as expected.
Yeah.
So today we were practicing the launch countdown.
Yeah.
So it's the hours that are leading up to the launch. Yeah. Where already we are quite busy because the spacecraft is on top of the rocket, but it's already being switched on there. So the software is running on the spacecraft and we monitor all the parameters of the satellite while it's still on top of the rocket. So we see that the battery is charging, that the wells for the fuel are being opened. We check that the software is running as expected. So we do all the final checks that everything is configured as we need it for the launch. This is what we did this morning. Now we hand it over to the A team.
What's next?
It's around 1:45 minutes now to the launch, so simulated launch today. And until around 1 hour after the launch, for the first time, the satellite flies over one of the ground stations after it's separated from the rocket. And then we see the signal for the first time and we start checking out all the units and making sure that everything works exactly. This is when the excitement starts for us.
I bet you get moments when you're sat in there doing your job. Okay, you can be stressful, you can be concentrating, but there'll be a moment you go, I'm in the control room. This is my job. How am I here?
A bit, yes. When I was sitting for the first time in the chair in the front row and I saw the sign with my position, and it was a good feeling. I was quite happy, yes.
This is a Biomass roll call.
So this is the first mission you've seen through from the beginning then?
Yes, exactly.
Some go.
I've seen the first tests, the first procedures, the first commands that we sent to the satellite.
AOCS
go.
All the way now to launching it.
Spec on go.
And then operating it hopefully for many years.
Timeline go. Lab go. Spec on go. Data handling go. Source code go.
It's quite exciting.
This completes a Biomass roll call.
It's launch time. They've got everything ready. The next thing they do is go into a briefing room and have a meeting all about that, and I'm not allowed in. I've been told if I walk this way, I will find someone called Julio from the ground operations team.
So here is where the support people like comms, computer, machines, infrastructure monitor their own stuff. And here is what we call the mini NOC, so the backup network operation center.
Okay, yeah. So they're going through a simulation of the launch and early operations. What's your role in that whole scenario and in a month's time when it actually happens?
Sure. So we try to have the infrastructure ready for our satellite to be launched. Yeah. So we have to ensure that all the stations are configured correctly, that the communications between the control center and the station themselves are ready, and the machines are ready as well. And once we go to the launch, we get the predictions from the flight dynamics team basically, and we feed into the dish of the antenna, and we actually operate the station. Yeah, we point to where we expect to be the satellite, and if everything goes good, we pick the satellite, the signal, like we usually pick it in routine operations. Yeah.
So through Libé's work, she's working out where in space it is and where it should
Exactly.
be. Tells you, and you can use that information to point the ground station at the right bit of sky to find it and get its signal back.
With only one problem, in a way, this is a prediction, but then clearly it needs to be in the correct point. And then obviously, if that doesn't happen, what we do is, we try to search, and searching means moves the antenna back and forth. And hopefully we find the signal, and then once we find the signal, then we're good to go.
It really is like setting up a satellite dish on your house as well, trying to, can you see it yet?
Yeah, it's more or less like that, yeah.
I don't have a sponsor for this video, and it is not for the lack of trying. What I do have though is a Patreon, so if you would like to contribute towards my video making, that is the place to do it. I'll be completely honest, this episode has cost me more money than I will ever get in any ad revenue or anything like that for it. So thank you to everyone who's already a member of my Patreon for helping out. It is possible to join for free. I don't want to segregate what you can get from me based on how much money you've got. That just feels a little bit icky. But if you want the equivalent of a Netflix subscription, but for just me, then that's the place to do it. The satellite has been launched, separated, and found by the ground station. It's now time to set it up for science and test my abilities. Okay, I've done all the revision I can do, and even in that, I can see the amount of preparation that's gone into this. I think I understand why this work takes so many years to qualify in, but I was going to give it my best shot.
It's time for my test.
Yes, welcome back here in our small side control room. Now, after today, spending the day seeing how we do it in the main control room, you get to try it yourself. So it means before the pass, preparing the command stack with everything that you want to do in the pass, and then during the pass to execute it. So now you can imagine that we just came out of a pass over the south ground station, and we observed that the spacecraft was nominal and everything was fine. We were doing our checks afterwards, and this took us maybe 10 minutes or so to do the checks. And now we are starting to prepare for the next pass, which comes up now, if you look up, in around 16 minutes. So we have 16 minutes to prepare all the commands that we want to do, and then the pass starts and we are going to execute it.
Quick reminder here, the pass I'm doing is one of the most crucial parts of the early orbit phase, preparing to deploy the antenna.
It's kind of maybe 20 hours or so after launch. So all of the initial critical activities have been done, and then we proceed with getting ready to configure the mission in its final setup.
It's a living, working satellite. Now we turn on the science instrument.
Exactly. So at the moment you can imagine that the spacecraft is still flying, not the way it looks here.
Yes.
But with the reflector fully packed up and stored behind the spacecraft how it was in the rocket. So now we still need to deploy the whole thing, and for this we need to switch on the unit that is going to drive the motors. So now it's less than 15 minutes left, so I think we should start getting ready, preparing the stack.
So there's a line here that says pass preparation. That sounds like it's the start of the pass. Questions, do we need to set an execution time on it?
Ah, that's very good. Is there something written in our timeline on that?
It doesn't say anything.
Did you read it?
It tells me everything, I just need to think. Whoa, that's put loads in.
Yes.
So we've got test the connection, start the dump, all of the stuff that we just set up now to turn on the bits that we need.
This is the reflector, and it's opened by a motor, and the unit that we switch on is the one that is powering this motor and
is that
driving
open and
it.
close between each pass?
No, this is for the instrument. We open it one time, so it's just stored for the launch, fairing of the rocket.
Yes. I've just realized, I'm doing the launch phase, aren't I?
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. Now we're in the pass execution. So we're ready to go. We've queued up all of the commands that we're going to send.
Correct.
And then once we can see we're connected, we can then send it.
Correct, exactly. Now we are coming up. You can imagine that the satellite is moving higher in the sky. The ground station is following it.
Yeah.
And once it goes above a certain limit, then we can also start commanding.
It's a fake test just set up for me, but it's still slightly nerve-wracking.
Okay, yeah.
Is it one by one, arm go, arm
Yes,
go?
now you can, so this is also now we follow the pass, part of the pass execution, which
yes.
also tells you what you should be doing.
Pressing and when, yeah.
So you can go ahead with the first batch of commands.
Oh,
Right on your command,
instant
yes.
graph change. Yeah, started, on.
Exactly.
So we've got 46 seconds left on this pass, so I should probably send the final command.
Yes, that's
before
a good
we
idea.
lose signal.
Once you lose signal, then it's too late. So now you can go with the last.
Go.
So now we are coming to the end of the commanding time. So I'm disconnecting also from the ground station.
Yeah, hanging up the phone call almost.
Basically, yes.
Yep, no ground station.
And then we still receive data for a bit.
Yeah.
And we can keep monitoring, but there's not much else that we can do.
And what we did here was, it's still folded up, but we've turned on the motors that are ready to get to work
Exactly.
next time you get to speak to it.
Now we are ready to do the deployment.
Yeah.
So you can imagine that one orbit around the Earth takes around 100 minutes.
Okay.
And during this time, you have basically 2 passes, which depending on the station, they are, let's say, between 10 and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's like 10 or 20 minutes of a pass,
Yeah.
and then maybe half an hour of time in between.
Yeah.
Another 10, 15 minutes of pass, another half an hour more or less between.
Yeah.
And so now we finished our pass, and in reality now you would be doing some reporting, doing your final checks.
Yeah.
And then start getting ready to prepare the next one, because you see that it also takes maybe 10, 15 minutes to prepare the next pass. So with 25 minutes, in the nominal case, it's okay, but if you can imagine that something didn't go as planned, you don't have a lot of time to analyze it before you maybe already want to take some action.
So how did I do? I know I would have a lot more training to do, but would you have me as a member of your team?
Yes, of course, you've done very well. Everything was green and successful, so well done.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Teeny part of one person's job in a massive team.
But you've done very well. It was perfect timing, well before the end, so very good.
So you've got until the end of this month to go to the actual scheduled launch date. How are you feeling about it?
Nervous. There's still a lot of things
yes.
to prepare. The last weeks are always a rush. We spend years in preparing, but still, as you know, as probably everywhere, the last weeks are very intense, and any sort of last-minute check, some inputs.
But you can't say you haven't planned for it.
Yes, that's clear.
We are still doing our final simulations, which are also very exciting, because usually for the final simulations, the simulations officer keeps the most complex cases and the most challenging ones. So this is really to make sure that the simulations are as exciting as they can be, to make sure that the launch is as boring as it can be. So we are coming up to this next week, the probably biggest contingency simulations. So still some stressful days ahead, yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for explaining all of this. It's so weird to go from like a team of hundreds of people, just like, I have no idea what they're doing, and then being able to speak through all of this step by step and kind of work out what's happening. The fact that you can impart all of that in such a short space of time, I can't thank you enough. So
You're welcome.
It's been
It was
great.
a pleasure.
Yeah, it was nice to have you here.
And and thank you to ESA and ESOC for letting me in.
4 weeks after my visit, and it's now launch day. It's so mad not only hearing people I know on the broadcast feed, but also understanding some of what they're saying. Wonderfully, the launch went to plan, and as this video goes out, they've successfully deployed the reflector and have just revealed the first stunning images from the Biomass satellite. It's still in the process of being calibrated, but they're hoping to be able to use its data for science later in the year.